Welcome back, everybody, to this week's live episode, a special live episode of the DCL Duo podcast brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and our friends over at the DCL magazine. If you have not signed up to their wait list, please head over to dcl-magazine.com to sign up for the wait list over there. They announced earlier this week they are a little behind where they want to be in terms of the wait list interest, but that is not going to stop them from doing a very special edition of the magazine to see if they can get enough subscriptions to support having a regular DCL magazine. And we so want that to happen because we love the folks over there. They're doing some great work. And if you sign up, you'll get early notice of the offering about coming soon.
Their float out edition.
The float out edition. I can't reveal the date, but their float out edition. And you'll be able to sign up for it early and read a very special article written by the DCL Duo in that magazine.
Written by Brian of the DCL Duo.
You keep saying that. Everyone knows that. I'm just trying to be inclusive of the credit here. But we are...
I didn't write it. It's really good, though.
Yeah, we are so sorry to be behind for our live audience this evening, but we were talking all things DCL Duo Podcast Cruise version 2.0 with Karen right before this and ran over because we had such great questions and such great information that Karen's going to share. I'll just plug once again at the top of this episode. If you're interested in experiencing an Adventures by Disney river cruise with the DCL Duo to Holland and Belgium on July 4th, reach out to Karen. 2026. July 4th, 2026. Then reach out to Karen, DCL Duo, at mypathunwinding.com or mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo. We are excited to welcome all of you.
And feel free, if you can't travel with us, if those dates don't work for you, or if that itinerary doesn't work for you, feel free to reach out to Karen because she is the expert in all things Adventures by Disney. So if you want to do a land, adventure, or you want to do a different river cruise, or you want to book on Talk River Cruises, or, or want to book a DCL cruise, reach out to Karen. She is an expert on all of these things. So we know that not everybody's going to be able to come with us because there's only 150 people maybe on board this river cruise. So all of our listeners can't possibly be coming because we have more than 150 of you.
Last time I checked. Yeah.
That's right.
But with that, we're excited to welcome Karen here. And apropos, you should reach out to her about this episode too, because we're talking about 2026 Disney Cruise Line summer itineraries released today, and some surprises, some sleuthing that's been done for us. Lots of great stuff to talk about. So Sam, I'm going to try to find the PDFs and get those up on the screen for folks so we can talk about them. But
awesome.
Why don't you and Karen kick us off? Yeah.
Why don't we start? We're going to start off with our vegetables, as Brian likes to say, right? So we're going to start off. So first, let's point out. Okay, we've got April through September now, basically, of the 2026 itineraries for Disney Cruise Line. That's sort of the nitty gritty. We've got bookings start next week, right, Karen? With
thank goodness they gave us a few days because
it was a late.
Wow, this week has just been crazy. I told Brian, I think yesterday, we were like, are they going to actually do both of these on the same week with the river cruising and the ocean line summer? And sure enough, they did. So mind blown. I guess the time of pacing things out is over because there's eight Disney ships now.
It's crazy. So that means next Monday, which is February the 10th, we're going to see Pearl bookings, then Platinum bookings on the 11th, Gold bookings on the 12th, Silver bookings on the 13th, and then Public will be, I guess, the 14th Friday. Is that right?
Or do they give Public is the following Monday.
So they give Castaway Club members plus Golden Oaks and Club 33 members a couple of days to book, because you can, even though their phones might not be open all 24 hours a day, there's still online bookings that can happen. All right. So that's like the nitty gritty about bookings. But of course, if you want to book, you should reach out to your travel advisor to help you book, because of course you get all the benefits of an expert helping you throughout along the way. But let's talk ship by ship. So we're going to, as I said, we're going to start with our vegetables. So our vegetables are what's not different. Okay. That's what the vegetables are. That's the Wish and the Treasure. I mean, these are fantastic ships. We know the Wish class is
Why vegetables and
amazing.
not meat and potatoes? Are we just being like
Because
modern or healthier?
I feel like the vegetables are the kind of boring stuff, right? Like
Okay.
that's how I think of it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
meat and potatoes to me is not boring. That's delicious. So that would be
That's
to me like
true.
right to me,
So are these regular itineraries.
right?
Delicious.
True.
They're delicious.
True. So we've got the Wish is not changing at all. So Wish is going to continue doing her 3 and 4 night sailings. She does 4 night sailings on Monday. She leaves for 3 night sailings on Friday. She's going to be going out of Port Canaveral, and it's the same old, right? We're seeing Nassau and Castaway Key on the Wish, and then the Treasure is also going to continue its 7 night Eastern Western flip flop back and forth between those, those 2 itineraries. And it's going to be mostly hitting Castaway. I think there's a couple of, there's maybe 1 or 2. I wasn't able to do a deep dive to see if there were any Lookout. I do know that there are some itineraries in 2025 that go to Lookout, but I didn't get a chance to see if there's 2026. But those are the vegetables because they're okay. So because they're just doing the same thing.
Right.
Moving on to the what?
That was the most engaging set of commentary we've had. I'm just kidding.
What? I want to get to the good stuff, right?
All right.
I want to get to the good stuff. Okay. So let's talk.
Well, you know what? Now I can't let that stand. Sam.
Okay.
Come on.
All right. No, all right. Fair.
Because the good, there are so many people that haven't experienced these vegetables.
True.
It might be just
And
the
the
best
vegetables are
tasting
delicious.
snack they've ever had. So,
I mean, it is. Let's be honest. The Treasure is like Brussels sprouts with the bacon sprinkled in.
yeah, and the balsamic glaze.
And the balsamic glaze, absolutely. So these are not like bad vegetables. These are delicious.
These are amused
We're
bouches,
really-
not just veggies. So there you go.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
I just want people to understand like nothing is changing in the itineraries for the Wish and the Treasure. They're going to continue. And that can also be said for really the Destiny and the Fantasy. But Fantasy is going to continue to sail out of Port Canaveral. So Fantasy has been sailing out of Port Canaveral, as we know, on 7 night itineraries. We know she just switched to doing kind of this mix of different length itineraries and a lot of Lookout Key sailings and a lot of sailings that go to both Lookout and Castaway as well. So I feel like that's actually pretty, I don't know, I thought that was pretty interesting and pretty good stuff. But obviously Fantasy's not going back to Europe. So that's the big news for her.
Right. They decided to send the Dream back. I still always like to point out the Southern Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is just a favorite. There's not an 11 night again, there's just a 10 night, but still incredible opportunity to go to both Lighthouse Key and Castaway Key and some destinations that you normally can't get to on an Eastern or Western.
I wanted to say, so that some friends reached out because we had said, if they ever offer that Southern Caribbean again, they're like, they offer it. Well, it's not the 11 night.
It's not the 11 night. It's a 10 night.
Right.
Also, I struggle with this as a Southern Caribbean. I know it technically is, but they're going to Antigua, but they're not going to, was it Barbados and Curacao?
Yeah.
They're not going to Aruba. Usually you think of like Aruba and Curacao.
ABC,
yeah, I agree. But it's still some beautiful, islands.
Sure.
And technically, you guys could make it to do a back to back with the river cruise and then the 10 night. So,
but I need a job to pay for these. I need a job actually.
We have to be able to keep our jobs. Oh yeah, Taryn's saying Bonaire is the
Bonaire.
ABC.
The ABCs, right?
Yeah. It is definitely, listen, that's definitely an amazing itinerary. And because of that, because she's doing that 10 night, she obviously has to get back onto her schedule. So there's some variation in the Fantasy schedule over the summer around the time she's doing the 10 night itinerary. But other than that, she's going to continue to do mostly these 4 and 5 night sailings in the Bahamas, the Caribbean, and so that's it's really nice. The Fantasy is one of our favorite ships. I was very happy to be on her for New Year's Eve, and I would be happy to get back on her, although I don't think that's coming anytime soon with the Destiny, which is, I think, the next thing we should be talking about. The Disney Destiny is going to obviously premiere at the end of this year in December. And I'm guessing that Karen will be invited on a preview cruise. I know that Brian and I and some friends of ours will be on the maiden voyage and the second voyage of the Disney Destiny, both 4-night sailings.
I will be on the maiden voyage as
Oh,
well.
that's right. I forgot, Karen, you booked. I forgot that you had booked the maiden
I am
voyage.
locked in for the
You are
maiden.
locked
I
in.
hope that I will also be on a preview, but yeah, I will be locked in. And it's crazy to be planning out for the Disney Destiny, you know, just thinking so far, it feels so far ahead because she's not even, you know, out yet.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
um,
She's got some
but
great she's got a great mix of these 4 and 5-night sailings, right? She's doing some Western Caribbean sailings, some Bahamian sailings. It kind of just depends which itinerary you're interested in, and if you want to go to Castaway or Lookout or both. So because she's sailing out of Fort Lauderdale, she's got, in my opinion, she's got like the best array of double dips and duo dips on her calendar, of all the ships, because she's going a lot of the time to both Castaway and Lookout, and or consistently to one or the other. And so yeah, it's a really, I think those itineraries are looking super desirable. I definitely think
and
it's a draw to Fort Lauderdale.
and exactly because I think that this is going to help people think about Disney Cruise Line beyond Port Canaveral in a more consistent way. I think that they've been struggling a little bit with the Southern Florida itineraries and kind of getting their core fans, you know, down to Southern Florida. But now, you know, with these itineraries on the newest ship, and, you know, after the Treasure launch, I think a lot of people are going to want to see what the Destiny has in store. So I think this is going to be fantastic. I mean, just such a great opportunity. You don't need to commit to the 7 nights that you do on the Treasure. A whole new set of entertainment. So
Absolutely. And you basically getting
yeah,
a Marvel week or 4 days or 5 days without, having to pay for a Marvel day at sea cruise. I do think one of the things with Fort
yeah,
Lauderdale, one of the things with Fort Lauderdale that they have been doing is having, uh, those Marvel Day at Seas on. They've done it on the Magic, they've done it on the Dream, and now having a brand new ship full time out of Fort Lauderdale. And I want to be clear, they're going to have it's 1.5 ships out of Fort Lauderdale, because during the summer, obviously the Dream is going to be over in Europe, so the Dream will not be in Fort Lauderdale, but
right.
Destiny is there full time, and that tracks with the contract that they have with the port of Fort Lauderdale, or Port Everglades, I guess it's called, so that they will have essentially one ship there full time and another ship there seasonally. And so it's definitely a way to get people to come to Fort Lauderdale to sail out with this new ship. I think the new ship is going to be a huge draw. I think it's going to be a huge success. And like you said, Karen, especially with the success of the Treasure and knowing that this is going to be the sister ship, it's going to have a lot of Marvel, it's going to have Haunted Mansion Parlor. This is going to be, I think, a huge, huge, huge success.
Exactly. I see Taryn said the same thing. Like after being on the Treasure, she's more excited about the Destiny. And you know, we've talked about this when we talked about the Treasure, that the Wish, you know, it had a bumpy start for a number of different reasons, but I think the Treasure kind of reset all of the, you know, the expectations and the emotions about this new
Totally.
type of ship. And so I think, you know, everybody's going to be really, really excited. And it's, you know, it's super easy to get to Fort Lauderdale, and you can fly to Orlando and still do your Disney vacation before or after, take the Bright Line. You can go to Miami, you can go to Fort Lauderdale, you can go to West Palm. There's just so many options. It's really convenient.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just had this random thought. I wonder if there'll be a DVC property built in the Fort Lauderdale area at some point.
It wouldn't be a stupid investment, I would think.
I don't think Disney's going to build any more DVC resorts outside of the theme
outside
parks.
of yeah,
Yeah, they've
maybe.
had such trouble selling the ones that they have
I
outside
guess
the
they
theme
had trouble
parks.
with Zero and Hilton Head. Well, let's pivot to talking about the Disney Dream. I know Brian really wants to talk about the Dream. Can I point out the gap in the schedule first before we talk about our actual itineraries?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there is an itinerary gap. It's a 7-day gap from August 31st to September 6th.
DVC member
It
cruise.
is a DVC member cruise.
Yep.
The Disney Cruise Line blog is reporting that it's going to be a 7-night Northern Europe Norwegian Fjords cruise sailing from Southampton. So I have not independently verified that myself, but I would trust their information on that.
I
But
believe
yeah,
I saw that myself, so I'm going to check it while we're chatting.
yeah, so it's a 7-night gap. It's at the end, it is not the very end of the schedule for Europe, but is towards the end of the schedule. So last week or last day in August, so the first week of September. Most people, of course, most kids back in school sometime in August, or at least by Labor Day, and so that's probably not going to work for most people. But that is the one of there are 3 gaps in the schedule. That is the first of the 3 that I'm going to discuss today. That Sleuthing Sam has found. Okay, now I'm going to pass it over to Karen and Brian because I'll admit I did not do a deep dive into this, but I know there are some new ports on here.
Well, there's at least there's one new port on the schedule because Disney made a big deal in the press release for this itinerary release. So the 7-night Mediterranean sailings on May 16th, 23rd, July 6th, and July 13th are going to a new port stop, Cagliari, Italy, on the island of, I think, is that Sicily or Sardinia? It is for the first time the Disney Dream will call on this island city of Cagliari, located in Sardinia, Italy, a brand new destination for Disney
Sardinia.
Cruise Line. Yeah, so there's 4 opportunities to go to that new port stop. The photo that they released of the island looks absolutely stunning. So looks like a great new port stop. I don't know, Karen, if you've had any experience with that stop at all on any of the cruises.
I have not, but I know it's definitely becoming a more popular destination. Italy is just, continues to be probably the most popular destination it feels like in the world. Everybody wants to go to Italy, and folks are seeking out new corners, islands, destinations within Italy, after they've done sort of the main attraction, so to speak. So I think this is a great opportunity. Sardinia is beautiful, and I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. Otherwise, I mean, I it's standard fare, except they're doing multiple Norwegian fjords
Yeah, I
trips
saw
this
that.
year. I don't see. Did I miss Iceland? I think Iceland is done. I don't think it's on here this year, which is sad because it was top of my list to try. I don't see it.
Point.
Iceland is not here. That is actually sad news for me. I really, really wanted to go on one of those longer Iceland, Northern European sailings. So, wow, bummer. Looks like they've removed a port stop. They did have a lot of problems this past year with Iceland and some of the port stops there. And so I'm not maybe surprised that it came off the list, but that was a lot of people who went there really, really loved it. So I don't know. Did anything catch your attention out of the Mediterranean European sailings otherwise, Karen?
It seemed, as you said, pretty standard. I don't know. Are we calling are these the entrees now?
This is a meat and potatoes.
These are meat and potatoes. These are entrees.
Yeah.
These are the classic itineraries.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's kind of fun that they have these little short ones.
Yeah.
I think those are fun add-ons if you're going to be in Europe anyway and you want to hop on a Disney cruise. I think that their main goal is not for us in the US to do those, but more to continue to let the European market enjoy a, 3 or 4 night vacation.
Mm-hmm.
The one that that kind of caught my attention is the British Isles cruise. That always seems to happen in September, which works for me now that I'm an empty nester. But I know a lot of families can't take advantage of that. But that looks really awesome, going to Scotland and Ireland. So I love that they have that in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw a question about which Norwegian fjord sailing is the best. Whichever one you can get on is the
Yeah.
best. I mean,
Right.
the Norwegian fjords is beautiful. I will say we haven't been to all the ports that they're going to because they've changed up the ports a bit since we went in 2022. But we've been to Ålesund and that was wonderful, and we went to Stavanger. That's where we did that crazy hike.
And
At
and
Pulpit Rock.
we just did a couple episodes on Norwegian cruises, Iceland cruises. So like I would say like
Right.
literally just released them this past few weeks. So like I would go back and listen to those because we when we do those shows, we're very intensive on which ports they stopped at and what excursions they did so that you can kind of get a sense of that. So yeah, and it's interesting too, just caught my eye that there's I don't know if so it says Mekkejaverik, Stavanger, Norway. I feel like
Yeah,
ours just said Stavanger, so I'm
it
wondering if they're
was. We were
stopping
in
someplace else.
Yeah,
And
we were in Stavanger. We were in the city, so this must be another port that's probably close by that they probably bus you to Stavanger,
Right.
from. So it might have been they couldn't get the
I
port.
wonder if this is one of those situations where they're limiting the size of the ships in
It
the
could
ports.
be, although Stavanger is a big city. One of the bigger cities in Norway, but I don't know. Yeah, it could be, or it could just be they couldn't get the port. There might only be one slip or two slips, and they couldn't get it on the day they
Right.
wanted, so they got a nearby one. But I wanted to just jump in and say, totally agree with you, Karen. These 3-night Netherlands, Belgium, and 4-night Spain, the focus of those, and sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I can't see it. It's not big enough on my screen for my eyes. But the focus of those are definitely on European cruisers, probably mostly British cruisers because they're sailing out of Southampton. But there will be some Americans obviously on some of those cruises as
ju-
well.
just released an episode with someone who did a 4-night out of Southampton to
Yep.
Spain. I think this one that went to
Yep.
Bilbao,
Mhm.
Spain. So they really enjoyed it from the UK. Thank you, Karen, for correcting Karen in the chat for correcting me on the stop in Cagliari, Italy. The July 13th sailing does not stop in Cagliari. It stops in Ajaccio, France instead. So yes, 3 opportunities to go to Cagliari,
Yeah.
Italy. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we've got to move to the main event, right? The main event. This is the dessert.
Breaking news.
This is the
Breaking
just
news.
yeah, this is
Breaking
the
news.
breaking news. I wanna tell you all, I had a little birdie tell me this tidbit that both the Magic and the Wonder were going to be in Alaska. The information I had, though, that I was given was wrong as to what the itineraries were. I was told one of them would be doing 7-night sailings and the other would be doing kind of a mix of, like, 9 and 5. But instead, of course, we know they're both doing 7-night sailings for there's like one 5-night to get one of them on the schedule, but they're both doing 7-night sailings out of Vancouver in Alaska. One of the ships
Mhm.
will be heading out on Mondays, which is the normal schedule that the Wonder currently does, and then the other ship will be heading out on Thursdays. So we've got these 7-night itineraries, both ships. I will also tell you there are 2 gaps in the schedule, one for the Magic and one for the Wonder. And the Magic's one is probably it's maybe slightly more interesting because the Magic's itinerary gap is right before she starts sailing to Alaska. And
Mhm.
it is I think about a 3-week
3 week.
gap, which makes perfect sense because the Magic has not been to Alaska, which means the Magic's hull is likely not yet reinforced. And if you're sailing in icy waters like in Alaska, you have to have a reinforced hull, and the Wonder already has that. So the Magic must be getting her hull reinforced in or near Vancouver.
Do we think that they will also perhaps finish some of what they started on the Magic with so like the concierge lounge was framed out but was not fully enclosed in 3 weeks? I mean, they could need
They
every minute
could.
of that for the hull, but I'm just wondering if we think they'll finish any of that concierge lounge upgrade that they did not complete the first time around. I don't know. Don't
I
know.
don't know. I
That would
don't
be
know.
interesting.
Yeah. So the gap is from April 23rd to May 16th. So and then it's after she repositions from San Diego to Vancouver. She's got a 3-week gap and then she starts her Alaska sailings out of Vancouver. And then I'll tell you the other gap. I'm going to the Wonder, it's at the almost the end, not quite the end of the Alaska season, but almost the end of the Alaska season. The Wonder has a 3-week itinerary gap from August 17th to September 6th.
Does she sail? Does she sail another Alaska trip after that?
Yes,
Interesting.
she sails 2 more Alaska trips after that, but I would guess that that just happens to be when the dry dock space was available, and so I would guess that she's just doing her regular dry dock, because remember, the Wonder and the Magic, now that they are over 25 years old, or once they hit 25 years old, they have to do dry docks like every, I can't remember if it's 2 years or every 3 years, but it's much more often than the
Well,
5-year schedule.
I was going to say, buckle up. You're going to see these ships head into dry dock. But I actually thought maybe what they're doing was because they have to do some pretty intensive hull cleaning before they can take her over to Australia, because to meet
True.
the standards that they
Environmental.
have. So
Yeah.
I was curious if they were going to clean the hull and then send her across the Pacific for the
Yeah, but there's
Australian
still a
season.
couple of sailings after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. What do you, Karen? What do you think about 2 ships in Alaska? Because the other thing they seem to have done is opened up shorter itineraries, which I've got to believe is responsive to a market of people who want
But they
to.
didn't. They only opened 1 5-night itinerary. Everything else is 7 nights,
they
Brian.
don't, well, they don't have the 9
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, and they only have that 1 5. I don't think I really don't recommend doing a 5-night to Alaska unless you already live in the Pacific Northwest or in Canada. It just, to me, is not not a good value for your vacation investment. It's really fascinating. I mean, I think I counted up like 34 Alaska cruises or something like that in the season in 2026. What I haven't had a chance to do is to look at the pricing to see if that's going to help at all, or if
It doesn't look like it.
getting.
Doesn't look like it to me. Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see if they really have that much demand. I mean, yes, it's a short season, and so they've been able to really fill it. Um, you know, it's a great experience. Vancouver is an incredible city, but then there's a lot of people that's when they do Alaska want to do it a little differently. To be able to do more of those one-way itineraries that go a little further into the state. So I don't know how it's going to turn out.
It was interesting. So it was thank you for pointing out. I thought it was more short sailings, because I thought maybe what they were doing is being responsive to a market of people who they want to sail to Alaska on Disney, but they don't like the full 7-night price. So they can make it a little more affordable by shortening days. But I 100% agree with Karen. Like the more time you have, the further north you can get, and that's where things get really interesting. I'm a little surprised as you were talking, Karen. I was thinking I'm a little surprised they don't have one of the ships just going Vancouver to Anchorage, or the port,
right?
Back,
like some
right?
cruise lines do
Like
that. They do one ways.
Yeah.
They do one ways. And it has, so I kind of thought when I first saw both ships, I thought, well, maybe that's, maybe one ship will be doing those kind of alternating itineraries. But so I was a little surprised that they were doing, essentially identical sailings. It's great that there's different days. Mondays have always, I think, been a little bit of an awkward time. Thursday might still be an awkward time, but at least you have your choice now of what works best for your vacation schedule.
True.
In the summer.
And I do think, there is some more variety in which itinerary, right? So there's Icy Strait, there's Juneau and Ketchikan, right? There's a couple there's a little bit more variety in what the itinerary is. Most of the time, Disney's itineraries have been pretty cookie cutter, and with these 2 different ships going, they have a little bit more variation. But other than that, it's just increasing the supply of Alaska cruises. Now, to be fair, other cruise lines have more than one ship in Alaska, and they do fine. So it may be
absolutely
that, the demand
I mean,
might be there.
as they're growing their fleet, I mean, I think they're kind of stepping up to where their competitors are. I mean, Royal Caribbean has several, Princess has many, Holland America has many, Celebrity has a couple, Norwegian. So, it's a very busy market. It's a very popular market. It's a short season. So, I mean, I guess we'll see how it plays out for Disney Cruise Line. If they're, this is really the kind of situation now where it's got to expand from people that are not just interested in sailing on Disney, but are looking at their Alaska options, and now they're going to see two ships in Alaska on Disney Cruise Line and start comparing it to all of their Alaska options. So I think there's going to be more people that choose it with Alaska as their first, um, their first preference, and the cruise line being Disney may not be their first reason that they chose that ship. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I do think with Alaska, a lot of people prioritize, itinerary, the dates, the price, right? There's a lot of, I mean, like any cruise, there's a lot of different priorities. But I think
Right.
because Alaska is such a destination in and of itself, where it's not like the Bahamas where the ship is just as much the destination, that I do think people tend to, they are willing to look at different cruise lines that they might not consider for other
Right.
itineraries.
And,
You know,
I have to say that, because we do, oftentimes compare different options, Disney is really just still the best fit for families.
yeah,
Um, we love Royal Caribbean, but the bedding situation on Royal Caribbean is just not as ideal
yeah.
as when for kids, or for multiple adults or whatever, because they just don't have individual sleep space for the kids. They have to basically share, if you have a family of 4 or 5. So, that is such an appeal. For families these days, we always ask about bedding preferences,
That's a good point.
because that can make a difference on your vacation for your family, right? If you have two kids that can't share a bed and they're forced to kick at each other all night, that can put everybody in a mood.
Nobody's
So,
happy. Nobody's happy. Well, I
so
wanted to
I think
pull
it
up.
is going to be nice that there's more options that, in with the Disney type of stateroom setup. I think that's going to be
Yes.
great.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring up a couple of comments because we've got comments from both Linda and Ed. I'm going to bring them up one at a time. But with Magic, Ed is saying, would the Magic go down to Galveston? Could it stay on the West Coast during the winter? And Linda's, of course, saying, anyone else hoping the Magic spends a little time in San Diego after Alaska before going back to Galveston? So obviously, the Magic is going to be doing, Panama Canal sailing in order to get to the West Coast. We already knew that. And so, because it obviously has to show up somehow. But, you know, I think that we could see the Magic staying on the West Coast now that the Destiny will be online, right? There's enough ships that they could conceivably. I do think they'll send the Magic eventually, but back through the Panama Canal and back to the East Coast. I don't think she'll stay on the West Coast sort of permanently for the year or the rest of the year. But I do think we could see her stay and do a few sailings out of San Diego, like having both the Magic and the Wonder doing some sailings because the Wonder is going to be heading over to New Zealand, as Brian pointed out earlier.
So I also wanted Ed raised the question about price. Karen, you mentioned this too. So I have pulled up Scott Sanders. Hopefully, has historical pricing for opening day from 2024 for Alaska, and also now I can compare that. Prices are up. I mean, up
Mhm.
incrementally, not up exponentially, but there are more. And the other thing I noticed is that there's a price differential between the Thursday to Thursday and the Monday to Monday sailings. So the Thursday to Thursday sailings are just like a hair cheaper in each
Oh,
category
interesting.
than the
Interesting.
Monday
That
to
could be
Monday.
related to, what their costs are in some way. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Or they just think that those will be slightly more popular.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Well, and I
Well,
can't
that
remember
could
which
be.
ship is doing the Monday and which ship is doing.
The,
I think
the
it's
Wonder is staying on
staying on
Monday.
yeah,
Monday? Okay, and it's
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I thought, that Magic was doing Thursday, I just couldn't remember. Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see. We won't have remember, folks, we won't have itineraries for the fall for quite a long time because DCL is very slow to release itineraries, unlike the other cruise lines. But, the hope, of course, the hope for us is always that they keep one of the ships on the West Coast because, as we know, the Wonder is going to Australia and New Zealand. And so, or I should say, we don't know, as we expect the Wonder to go to Australia and New Zealand. Otherwise, it would seem kind of silly to have two ships on the West Coast, unless maybe the
they
Magic
could.
could go.
I
I
was gonna
mean,
say
that could swap. That's
they could just they could maybe say like let's send a different ship over to Australia to give them just a slightly different experience than what they're getting
Mhm.
now, and keep the Wonder here. I don't know. They had to do some work on the Wonder to get her, get her ready to go to
Right.
Australia. So it may not be sort of worth putting that work into the Magic. I don't know, but yeah, what's more interesting to me is 2 ships on the West Coast. Like, so the next set of itineraries should be fascinating. Like, what's going to happen with the other Magic class ship that's out here? Will there be an extended San Diego season? There'll definitely be a West Coast repositioning cruise, which we haven't seen
Right.
for quite a while. Is one of them going to start going maybe back and forth to Hawaii more?
Well, I
I don't
mean,
know.
That's what I was
is
wondering
saying,
about.
yeah, Beth's saying her guest survey last summer was heavily focused
Yeah.
in interest in Pacific Coast ports. There's definitely there would definitely be interest. I think there's a lot of West Coasters who'd be interested in sailing up and down the West Coast, even not
Yeah.
heading to Hawaii. So
Yeah.
and of course, as the other Beth is pointing out, a land and sea combo would be popular with Disneyland.
Be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If it happens.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Well, I guess the last ship to talk about quickly is the Adventure. And
Oh, I almost forgot about the Adventure, honestly.
it's there. It's this little bitty little corner
Little
over
bitty
here.
Singapore.
This is
3-4 night
our
sailings.
dessert.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, this is like our after dinner mint or something.
Our after dinner mints.
This is those chocolates they send you home with that you throw away.
The ones that they put in the little box.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So she's going to be doing 3 and 4 night sailings, not surprising, cruises to nowhere. I really hope at some point in the future we see a little something fun with the Adventure in this column, or maybe just a port stop. But maybe I will put the call out again. We have been very interested in having someone on the show who is an expert in the Asian cruise market, because I'd love to understand what we might be in for. Now, Disney's bucked the trend so far with the casino on board the ship, so they may buck other trends over there. But I'd love to know if this is just standard, what you expect in Asia is 3 and 4 night cruises to nowhere, then, maybe the Adventure won't ever do anything else. But I'd love to see them throw a 7 night or a longer sailing over there to just give a nod to the U.S. Side of the equation here that does want to go over and experience that ship, but doesn't want to fly for 19 hours to go on a 3-night cruise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think
and
they're counting
other
on
cruise
back-to-back.
lines, other American cruise lines do have extended itineraries out of Asia.
Yeah.
That I think are a combination of Asian and American guests. Princess comes to mind, Viking comes to mind. So I think they're still putting their toes in the water and figuring out. There's probably a number of considerations, culturally, economics, all of that, before they commit to bigger things.
Yeah.
But it's a big commitment. They've got this biggest ship, right? Has it
Yeah.
been out? Has it been outbuilt yet?
No.
Right.
Yeah. No.
And we've heard rumors that it's like wildly over cost. So
Well, we've heard conflicting rumors. We've heard rumors that it is wildly behind schedule, and rumors that it is, in fact, on schedule. So I guess we're going to find out pretty soon, because they're going to have to float her out about the same time as the Destiny, and the Destiny float out can't be that far off to make the November timeframe. So in the next couple months, we should see kind of if the Adventure is truly ready or not. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. We have heard that they really can't miss their date over in Singapore. So
yeah, we heard that there's
well,
some
it
kind
sets them up.
some
Sets
kind
them
of
up for a wish-like
penalties.
scenario.
Yeah. We don't know
Uh-oh.
we don't know the details, but the last thing that we heard about them being behind schedule was that they really like can't be behind schedule in Singapore because there's some kind of penalties that they might have to pay
Yeah.
if they're not on time for their maiden. I don't know about test cruises or anything like that. So, we'll see. We'll have to keep watching and maybe we'll hear again when we hear these things. We don't always know how accurate they are because
Yes.
there are some more reliable and less reliable sources that we have, and so we don't always know what information is just purely
why we
rumor or
try
telephone.
We try
Yeah.
desperately
Right.
on this show to be very clear when we are like prognosticating or talking about rumor, because if it's rumor and it's not confirmed, then all bets are off when it comes to Disney Cruise Line. But yeah,
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see what happens with the adventure. I really don't think they can have a flop of a maiden voyage over there, and then it's just going to create an uphill battle for them. So I really hope they figure it out, because that for that ship to be a success, everything needs to kind of work like it did on the Treasure, not like it did on the Wish. So
Right.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Karen, what are you? Anything catch your eye? I'll say for just to answer the question we usually get, what are you booking? We're probably, to be perfectly honest, because we're doing the podcast cruise in July, not booking anything off of this itinerary release. I should actually say, I was shocked that it only went to September, because I thought that Disney was moving to this like twice a year
Twice a
release
year. Yep.
schedule, and
Right.
we would get dates out
Fall
to
into
December.
December.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we didn't. And so
Right.
I don't know if they're holding back because of some new like maiden voyage that they don't want to put out, or gaps in the itinerary that would signal when a new ship is coming in. Who knows? But I'll be looking heavily at the fall release that comes out, fall winter release that comes out, because I think we might be looking to book something for Thanksgiving holiday or Christmas time
Right.
in 2026. This year for 2026 for summer for us, we're all in on the podcast cruise with Karen. Reach out to her to book.
Yes.
And so
And of course we've got the Destiny booked at the end of this year. So it's
yes.
Yes.
and I will tell you all, we are booked on Royal Caribbean cruise for spring break of 2026 on the, I believe it's the Symphony. Is that right, Brian? It's
That is
Oasis.
right.
Yeah, so it's an
Symphony.
Oasis class ship. So we're giving Royal one of our weeks that year. So we've got this balance there, but we'll definitely be looking all to winter itinerary CL for 6.
Yep. Karen, what are you looking at?
2026 is going to be a very big transition year, because I'm going to have 2 adult kids that have completely transitioned out of the usual
Out of school and
school
everything. Yeah.
breaks. And so I'm kind of feeling like a little bit deer in the headlights, empty nest depression. I don't know what you want to call it. So I have no idea what we're going to plan for 2026 in terms of Disney Cruise Line itineraries. I
Karen, I hear you're a size 10 night Southern Caribbean
That
cruise.
is always a very good option. I am all for the more nights, the better. But I also, I kind of like, because I am not locked into those traditional breaks anymore.
Mhm.
I think the one that calls to me the most is probably that British Isles in September.
Yeah.
Mm,
I can
nice.
understand that. Honestly, I would, that was before we booked the Norwegian fjords. We were actually booked on British Isles, and then we pivoted to Norwegian fjords. I don't regret that decision
Not
at
for a
all,
second. Not for a
but I
second.
still want to do a British Isles cruise someday. It's just probably not
Absolutely.
in the next 2 years. It's probably further out in the schedule. And with Disney Cruise Line heading to Asia in 2029, I've already got that like laser focus out there as well. So
Well, as we wrap up
I
here,
would really love to I would love to start looking at some combinations, and I hope they're starting to do some more synergies of Adventures by Disney with Disney Cruise Line,
yes.
especially as they expand, more globally. So
yes.
I'm going to be on the lookout for that, and maybe even the return. I don't think it's going to happen, but the return of the embedded ABDs on board Disney Cruise Line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, definitely.
Yeah. I'd almost forgotten that those exist.
Those
To be requested.
existed.
Yeah.
It's been years
Been a
now.
hot
So
minute. Yeah, it's been
yeah.
a hot minute since those
Yeah.
were around. Yeah, yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, let me put a call first out to everyone watching live. Like, throw in the chat if any of these itineraries have caught your eye and you're looking to book. I'd be curious what you're looking to book. I know Beth is saying the British Isles is definitely on her list. So, yeah, if you're looking to book anything, I'd love to know what is catching your attention. Karen, while folks might be doing that, like, let them know how they can book with you and help support our show by booking with you and take advantage of your fabulous services.
Absolutely. So you can reach me and our team like any which way. mypathunwinding.com/DCL duo. That's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. That's sort of the landing page, has a quick form. If you're not a form person, you can email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com. If you can't find either of those, you can find me on Facebook, just send me a message. I'll shoot you my email. We'll connect. I know you'll tell me that the DCL Duo sent you and that you saw us chatting and that you're ready to plan your next vacation. So we're here for you. I've been working with a lot of DCL Duo listeners for Disney Cruise Line, for this Adventures by Disney River Cruise, and then well beyond, whether it be Virgin Voyages, Royal Caribbean, all of the good things.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw our friends, the Burns family is interested in. Well, the Burns adults are interested. I saw in Virgin Voyages.
Right,
So, yeah,
right.
there's definitely lots of different options out there on the table. And as Karen said, please reach out to her if you're interested in booking any of these things on DCL, but also on the other major cruise lines, all inclusives, river cruises, all those things, all of your travel needs. My Path Unwinding can help you with. So with that, I'll just
wait, hold on. I put a call out. We got some answers.
Oh,
here.
sorry. Okay, we got
Beth
the
is
other
saying
Beth is saying Spain.
Spain. We got Wesley saying he's definitely going to book Alaska because his son is turning 12. Great age, I think, for that trip, Wesley. And we'll see you, by the way, Wesley. We'll see you on the maiden voyage of the Destiny, it sounds like. Linda says she's definitely considering Alaska. I feel like Alaska is always the star of the show for these release cycles.
Summer itineraries is always Alaska.
Yeah, I do like Beth Gentry's comment here. I wish the new ships were doing more interesting ports. Amen. Like it'd be nice to see like a few more ports announced as new year to year. But hey, with the new ships that they announced recently, the smaller ships, I bet that's where we'll start to see some of these newer ports because they can get into more interesting places.
Yeah, we just
ships.
have to wait till 2029 for that, though, Brian. That's very sad.
Yeah, well, it is very sad. Yeah, and Taryn made a good point about the adventure bookings are similar in cost, and the adventure, I will say, outside of the airfare to get to Singapore, the adventure has some of the most affordable itineraries on like a per night cost basis. It's like old school DCL like per night cost of about $1,000. I say old school, like pre-pandemic, like right before, where it was like $1,000 a night for a regular sailing and around $1,500 a night for a concierge room. Like, and they've got a lot more stateroom classes and styles on that ship. I will be interested to hear reports from Americans who sail on that ship and their experience on board, just from the standpoint that it's going to be different. I think it's going to be a very, very different experience.
Yeah, imagine the people who were complaining about the Wish and how it was different.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
if it's not quite ready, then that's just
it's the cherry on top. Oh my gosh.
That will be the cherry on top of our boxed chocolate dessert.
Exactly. We've got Drew saying maybe the DVC cruise or a 7-night Eastern on the Destiny. Yeah, that's right. The Destiny has a couple of 7-night sailings that are interesting. I forgot to point those out. Yeah, there's I think 2 7-night sailings that the Destiny has in the mix there as well. So yeah.
Wait, the Destiny has a 7-night sailing?
Yeah, I think it has just 2. I think it has 2 of them. On there.
I totally missed it. Fort Lauderdale to Lookout Key.
Yep.
And 3 days at sea. Nice. And then where's the other one? Is it 2? No, it's 1 here.
Is it just 1? I thought there were. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's a Western. There's an Eastern.
Yeah, 1 Western. That's what I thought. 1 Western and 1 Eastern.
Ooh, and that Western is very nice because it stops at both private islands. I cannot speak highly enough of getting to Lookout Key, as many of you will know. But that opportunity to go to both islands, and P.S. neither of
and
those
on the newest ship,
and neither of them are stopping at Nassau. Like, wow, like those are going to be some good trips. I have a feeling. So that's amazing.
I think those will book up pretty quick for sure.
Well, and so as we wrap up, I just want to say thank you to everyone out there for watching, for listening after the fact. I always like to let folks know what our next live episode is going to be. It's with CT on Monday. Our friend over at Tinfoil Mouse. Here's a little Valentine's Day special early. CT is going to share some of the fun things that he and his wife like to do as a couple on board at Disney Cruise Line, and CT is just always fun to hear from, so we can't wait to hear from him. I have to absolutely plug that our live show after that will be on February 24th with an ABD guide, Danny. Danny was friends with the Genie. Danny is an amazing Adventures by Disney guide. We loved him on the adventure that we had, and Sam bumped into him on the Treasure on the preview cruise. So Danny, if you're out there watching, listening, we can't wait to have you on and talk all things your life right now, and hopefully Adventures by Disney too. Yeah, so can't wait for those 2 episodes. So stay tuned for those. I think we will be dark from a live episode standpoint on February 17th, I believe it is, because we had originally planned to be in New Orleans until you can't see because it's off screen, but Sam is in a boot from a stress fracture from her recent double run on Disneyland
My
half
Dumbo.
marathon.
I did complete
Dumbo.
the Dumbo with no issues, but after the fact, it appears that I developed a probably a stress fracture. I I'm scheduling an MRI to confirm it. So,
Yeah.
so I'm in a boot.
And actually, someone just commented, Sam, did we talk about the one that stops twice, like 3 times?
We didn't comment about it specifically, but I mentioned that the Destiny has the most like duo dip, double dip type stuff going on, and so that was like that is the amazingness of the Destiny having all of those options.
Yes,
So,
but it sounds like one of them is going to
yes,
Castaway twice and
yes,
Lookout Key once.
correct. It is a double.
Oh.
Or it is a double plus duo dip. Double dip plus
Double duo dip. A double duo dip. There you
No,
go.
but it's
All
a
right.
plus. You have to put a plus because otherwise it's
Double duo dip plus?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
An Uber duo dip duo.
Yeah.
I've lost. I can't do it. I can't do
Oh
it.
my
Uber duo
gosh.
dip. There you go. All right. Well, okay. With that, seriously, we will wrap up. We will thank Karen so much for coming on. Please, please, please reach out to her if you're interested in booking any of these sailings. It helps support our show. We don't promote things that we don't use ourselves, and we've booked with Karen, we've booked with other of her fabulous agents over at My Path Unwinding. Love the experience there, so please, please, please support our show by booking with them. And otherwise, we will just say good night. Thanks for watching, and
we'll see you on Monday at our normal time.
All right, see you
Thanks,
later.
everybody.